Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, I'm making a zip tie holder with a storage drawer underneath. Take a look. This was just going to be a simple shop project, and I actually had some 1/4-inch MDF left over from a theater build, and that's what I was going to plan on using for this. So I started out with my table saw sled, cutting all the pieces to size. I started with a top and bottom piece, and just kind of made quick work of squaring that up and getting that to final size. Got just about all my pieces cut as far as on the crosscut sled, and then I could switch over to the rip fence and rip everything to final width. For my top and bottom piece, I was going to insert PVC pipe, and I just taped those together with some blue painter's tape. That way I could cut both of them out at the same time, and I could ensure that all the circles and everything were in the exact location. As far as the location, I just used a marking gauge to mark out my corners and everything and get all the pieces of pipe exactly spaced out. Then I just came in with an awl and tapped in some spots to ensure that my bit, whatever I was going to use, was not going to wander. Using some white chalk, I also made sure to mark the 2 holes that were going to be a different size. Knowing me, unless I marked these pieces, I was just going to drill those at the same size and then the holes would have been too big. Now, I did try something new on this particular project. This was kind of an adjustable spade bit, and I figured I would try it out. I didn't know, if it was going to work better or worse than my old method, and trying to find a hole saw or Forstner bit that's the exact size of PVC pipe is rather difficult. So something that's adjustable is really kind of the route to go here for a nice friction fit. Like I said, I tried this out for the first time, and I really did not like this adjustable spade bit. So in the future, I'm just going to stick with my tried and true method, which is just a circle cutter. Something that you can only really use on a drill press, and it cuts a pretty clean hole, and it works a heck of a lot better than this spade bit. But I'll have more information about these bits in the build article at nickferry.com, and you can find the link for that article in the description below. Then I could just test fit the PVC. Some of them were a nice friction fit. Other ones, the PVC didn't want to quite go in there. So at my oscillating spindle sander, I just made sure that all the holes in the PVC fit nice and snug in the opening. And then I could take the PVC over to my miter saw and cut everything to length. One thing to note about cutting cylindrical objects on your miter saw, the blade's going to want to dig into that cylinder and spin it and grab it and get a hold of it. So make sure you're holding it extremely tight, or even better, make sure it's clamped down. If you're not comfortable making that cut, you can always use a hacksaw or a reciprocating saw and you'll get similar results. Once I had all my pieces of PVC cut to length, I just used a rag and some acetone to wipe off the product labeling and the specifications on the side of it, just to clean it up and give it a nice uniform look. Then over at my assembly table, I just used some CA glue around the perimeter and set my PVC pieces in place, and it made quick work. When you're going from, say, PVC to wood, CA glue works out really well, and just a couple shots of activator, and I was just, it was a quick process, and I was able to get them all in place. All the glue was cured. Once I had the top side of the base kind of all glued in, I just added a little bit more CA glue to the bottom side just to give it a little bit more hold and ensure everything is well bonded to that 1/4-inch MDF. Then that second piece was going to be kind of a mid-height piece, and that was just going to act as a support to kind of keep everything nice and straight and in line. So I just slid that over the PVC and then used my tape measure to make sure that the bottom and the mid plate, I guess we'll call it, would be equidistant, and so that they're nice and parallel. And as I did that, I just kind of added some CA glue to kind of tack it in place, a little shot of activator, and I was good to go. The bottom had a little bit of that CA kind of sticking out, and I wanted to make sure my bottom piece fit nice and flush, so I just sanded the bottom. I threw the piece in a vise and sanded the bottom so it was nice and flat. Then the rest of my pieces, I could go back to my table saw and just cut those out to their final size. I was basically going to have a bottom drawer to this zip tie holder. So then I just applied a little bit more of that glue and had kind of a bottom piece, basically to act as a stop for the zip ties in the PVC. Glued that in place and made sure my back piece had enough room to be flush, and just kind of set that in place. Then it was just a matter of adding more MDF to kind of build the sides and give an opening for a drawer to be placed later. Again, it's just more CA glue, get your pieces in place, make sure they're nice and square and flush, and a little bit of activator and you should be good. And once I had all that together, I just sanded everything to make sure everything was nice and smooth and there were no sharp edges. As for the drawer itself, I have a complete and separate video that really lays out everything I did to make this drawer. It's rather unconventional as far as drawer construction goes, but if you're interested, I'll have a link in the description to that video as well. And that goes into a much greater detail as far as constructing this drawer and getting it to fit and making sure that the front was nice and flush. Then the drawer was going to need a handle, so I figured keep it simple here. Just a couple pieces of that 1/4" MDF, a little bit of CA glue to hold the front of the handle on, and then I just coated it in a little bit of flat black spray paint just to make it stand out a little bit, and then glued it to the front of the drawer. It's a light duty pull, but this is the perfect application for something like this. Well, that pretty much finished out the project. I just added all the zip ties, and then in that bottom drawer, I added a couple more pieces of 1/4" MDF, again, glued into place, and that way I had room for my electrical tape and my zip tie mounts, and also a zip tie gun that tensions the zip tie and cuts it all in one operation. So what do you guys think? This is my answer to trying to keep my zip ties a little bit more organized. If you're anything like me, you buy a bag of these things and then all of a sudden you shove it in a drawer and they're falling out of the bag, or a lot of times I've wrapped a zip tie around a bundle of zip ties to try and keep them more organized. At least this way they kind of have a home, and that if a project calls for it, I know exactly where they all are, and you know, the different lengths and colors and all that good stuff. If you guys are wanting to build something like this, I'll have a free PDF in the build article, and I'll have a link to that article down in the description below, because laying out the PVC as far as the exact hole size and the spacing, just to get everything kind of neat and orderly looking, was a little bit time consuming, so I figured, hey, I'll throw out a PDF if you guys are interested. Also, I'll have in that build article the different lengths and where you can get some of these. In fact, I even had some stainless steel zip ties in there, and those work out really nice for more of a permanent application, and they kind of have an industrial look. So if you're doing a project that requires just, I don't know, a better look than just a nylon zip tie, those work out really nice. And I also had some temporary ones, the beaded zip ties in there as well. Well, if this is your first time here, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. I try to post weekly videos on the different things that I'm making in my shop. And if you guys like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. That definitely helps a lot. Well, until I see you guys next time, you guys take care.